Hi, everybody. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you for joining us today, September 15th, 2021. We're nearing the end of the year. We're closing it up pretty soon, but we're here to take your general immigration questions, talking about educational related immigration, U.S. immigration topics. You can't obviously comment directly on your individual case because I just don't know enough to be able to answer that. So everything here is just general kind of content, but we're going to discuss all the things that pop up on this and all the new stuff that are going on with U.S. immigration law. Hint, it's all bad. Well, for the most part, for constant processing, if you're outside the United States or if you're waiting for a work permit, massive delays. Sometimes expedites are possible, but it's a tough slug and you got to get a lot of help. And you have to have a really good reason. And so I'm sure we're going to have questions like that popping up and we'll take them. And a side quick note, if you are submitting your own case, just be mindful that USCIS is updating a lot of its mailing addresses. So you always want to check before you submit something what the correct mailing address is for the form that you're submitting so you don't send it to the wrong place and cause additional delays for processing. But I guess with that, let's get started. All right, thanks again for joining. Again, I'm John Khosravi. Let's just jump in and take our first question. Rosha Gambari asks, hi, my kids have been in the US for 6 years now and still have not gotten approved for a green card. Please help us. Well, that's really peculiar, Rosha. I don't know why that is, but there's just too much going on there. So I'd recommend scheduling a private consultation with an attorney or with my office. There's fees for the consultation, but review what happened first and then take it from there. That's the best way to do it. And actually, speaking of consultation, I forgot to remind watchers, if you're watching the live show, not the recorded version of that, but every 10 minutes or so, my assistant, Kayla, will announce to me one winner of our free consultation raffle. So every 10 minutes, we'll name somebody. They'll get a free 15-minute consultation by video or phone, where you can generally discuss your case. It's kind of hard sometimes to get deep into it without really spending a lot of time on it. But we'll spend some time, that 15 minutes, to see how we can help you. If you want to participate, just like and subscribe where you're watching, and then comment, say consultation, and my assistant will pick some people. Every 10 minutes, we'll name a person, get 3 people in there. I just had a consultation with one of our winners from last week about 15, 20 minutes ago. So Rosha, with your other question, unfortunately, I don't have enough information to answer that. Please schedule a consultation with the attorney private, but thank you for your question. Dijon asks, it's been 90 days and I haven't gotten my wife's green card yet. What can I do next? Well, I don't know where you are in the process for getting a green card, so it's not a question I can answer. I just need to know more information about your case, unfortunately. So unfortunate that it's like that. Try calling USCIS or whatever agency you're dealing with at the time, but without knowing more details of your case, I just don't have an answer. It's too general. Faraz, thank you for this live. Just found you. Farah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. God bless. I hope this helps. And if you have any questions, just post them here. See if I can help you out. There's a lot going on in the immigration game that leads to confusion. But thanks for watching. Hashmi asks, I applied for my wife last year. I was a green card holder back then, and now I'm a U.S. citizen. Should I notify USCIS? Well, let's talk about this. So in this way you ask your question, I'm going to assume that your spouse is overseas and you submitted a form I-130. And that I-130 is still pending. Because what happens is most of the time, not all the time, if you're a green card holder filing for a spouse, to get the initial petition approved, the form I-130, it takes much longer, sometimes like a year and a half even. But if you're a U.S. citizen, it takes like 7 or 8 months on average. Now, having said that, I've seen spouse of green card holder I-130s get done in 3 months. Now, I've seen spouse of U.S. citizen cases take 14 months. So it's not guaranteed that these timelines apply, but generally U.S. citizen spouse cases are faster, so it's more beneficial to be a U.S. citizen when starting the green card process. So what happens next? Yeah, you just send a letter to USCIS notifying them that you are a U.S. citizen now, and please take this from the spouse of a green card holder, an F2A case, and make it into an immediate relative, an IR case. And you submit that. It may work, it may not. It may still take a while. It may go faster. So it's better to notify them. Why not? But whether they'll actually listen and actually put you in a faster line or anything like that, that's going to be up to them and the person handling your case. And if they feel like doing that, frankly, that's what I've seen. So I've had cases where someone got citizenship and we were excited to say, okay, let's notify USCIS. And one time, I remember one of the first times I ran this issue when I was practicing, I had to call and email them and send letters 3 or 4 times until they actually made the petitioner a U.S. citizen in the file. They wouldn't just do it. And then once it happened, things got moved faster. But I've had other cases where we did it and it still didn't matter. They recognized that the petitioner was a U.S. citizen now, but it still took longer. And there wasn't much we could do. So there's these kind of issues that pop up. But the short answer is, yeah, notify them. Even though people think like, okay, the immigration USCIS gave me citizenship. Obviously, no, that I have another case pending. Can't they connect this and inform them themselves so they'll know? Nope, they can't. So you have to do it for them. Those systems are not that sophisticated yet. But thank you for your question, Ashmi. I wish you the best. 29 Super C1 regulars ask, hi, good night, Attorney John Khosravi. Seems you're looking a little better than last week. Can you tell us what's going on in the immigration reform bit in the budget reconciliation bill? Well, yeah, I am feeling better. Last week I was not doing good between coughing and backaches and all this kind of stuff, but doing much better. With regards to immigration reform, as I always say in my show, I don't have any faith in the politicians fixing this. And the reality is we won't know how it looks like until the last version is made, because there's a lot of backdealing and all sorts of political things that happen in immigration or just politics, where we don't know how something's going to look like until it's done. And even with that, even if they pass a law, it doesn't mean it's going to be executed. For example, and I've mentioned this in past shows, last year, it's been over a year now, that Congress passed a law that said Immigration Department, USCIS, has to give the ability for people to pay extra money to premium process and expedite, essentially, certain types of cases. For example, if you have a work permit pending, instead of spending 10 months, you give them $2,500, which is a lot of money, $2,500, and they'll give you a decision and prove it in a month. So, okay, they passed the law. We got a bill, turns into law, yippee, the president signed it and everything. A year goes by, they still haven't instituted that law. So that's why I say don't really read into what's going on in politics, because we never know. And even if it becomes a law, whether it's actually going to happen, whether there's not going to be lawsuits that hold things up, federal injunctions, federal court injunctions, all this is possible. So I just don't get into this stuff, because I found over my experience of years of doing this in my career, it's a worthless endeavor and it wastes time. I would say go and watch TV, go and party, go have a drink. Those are much better uses of your time than following what's going on in the government. And I'm a poli-sci major. I spent all my 20s studying bills and legislation. I thought that was going to be a good way to develop myself and be very expert in all this kind of stuff. And I am. I know politics better than anybody, or the most. Let's not be that arrogant about it. But what I learned from being such an expert of it is that politics is a distasteful game, and there's so many machinations and changes that happen until the last second that to make any predictions in any way is just it's not a good thing to do, unless I'm just trying to get views on YouTube and I just talk about this stuff to do it because I know people are interested in it. But in reality, nothing's happening, and if it does, we won't know until it's done. But thanks for the question. Mr. Tuss asks, for asylum EAD renewal, does one still need to take biometrics again? Reason that one of the payments had to make, well, the rest of your question got cut off. But if you're renewing your EAD, if they already have your biometrics in the system, it's probably not needed, but I can't guarantee that. And nowadays, they're USCIS on purpose trying to reuse previous biometrics, which is the fingerprints and the photo that they had in the system, because they scaled down how much biometrics is happening. There's huge delays in getting biometrics. They try to use previous ones, but whether they will in your case, it's up to USCIS. So hopefully it's not. Probably it's not. I'll bet it. You don't need to do it again. But I wouldn't be surprised if they said, okay, you have to do it. That's possible. You could get a letter, and I've seen this even. They send one letter that says, we do not need your biometrics appointment because we already have your fingerprints. A month goes by, they send you an appointment letter to go and do your fingerprints. So when people ask about USCIS, how long does it take? Is this possible? We're not dealing with these the greatest consistent organization. And the reality is they have millions of cases. So whether you're one that falls through the cracks, I don't know. So probably not, but I don't have any definite answers about this stuff. But thanks for your question, Mr. Tuss. Jordan, one of our regulars asked, what if I have to go to a different state after school after I get approved for a 2-year green card? Is it a red flag not being able to live with the spouse? So what happens, let me back this up. What this means is if someone gets married and gets their green card through marriage, if the marriage is new, the green card is only valid for 2 years. And what that means is near the 2-year mark, really 90-day window beforehand, you have to file another application and document that your relationship is real. And so you need, typically they want to see you're living together in most cases, unless you're divorced or separated, which is needs a waiver, is a whole different thing. But what if you're not living together for school? Is that a problem? Well, no, it's not. I mean, this is life. Sometimes you got to go to school. So you need to be able to document what you are doing and who the person is and all that kind of, I mean, like where your life is at and all this kind of stuff, that you went to school. And so you have transcripts, you have approval letters, or that you went to the school. So you're literally there. You're not there just to be separate from your spouse. But, you know, you got to accumulate other kinds of documents, maybe joint bank accounts, maybe your flights, you know, going back and forth for your spouse to see each other. That could be additional proof that you're really a couple because you're flying back and forth. And just document as much as possible. This is typical. I have cases like this because most of my clients are, you know, people in college get married and then they want to go to graduate school because they're separated. So I have to deal with this situation typically. And I have not had a problem, but we work with our clients ahead of time, even when we do the initial marriage case. So we say, hey, listen, keep an eye out. Document everything you do. If you do a flight together, you go visit family in Florida, you go travel overseas to China to visit family, keep those airline tickets because later on we can show that you did a trip together. So obviously you're a real couple. Keep the photos, get letters from family and friends. You know, even though you're not living with your spouse, you can still be on the lease agreement there. You can still be on the utility bills. You can still be on all sorts of things. You're going to be on different insurances together. So just there's ways to overcome it. So I wouldn't be worried about it, but just be thorough and have the documentation to show that even though you're not living together, it's because of school, and you have all this other documentation that could, you know, walk you down the line and get you to the finish line. But thank you for your question, and thanks for watching again, one of our regular listeners. Our next question is from Elizabeth Darby. And actually, you know what? I want to announce our raffle winner. Sorry, Elizabeth, just a second. Dijon Patel 22. I remember asking your question. What was your question earlier? I remember seeing your name. Oh yeah, the one about the green card. So Dijon, if you're still watching, take a screenshot of where you're watching this and make sure your username is there so I know it's really you, and email it to me at info@jqqlaw.com, info@jqqlaw.com, and I'll reply back with a link to schedule a 15-minute consultation so we can go over what's going on with your case because I just couldn't get enough information, the question you had here. But thanks for posting it. If you're a new watcher right now, just give you a heads up. We give free video consultations, 15 minutes. All you got to do is like, subscribe, and write consultation. And my wonderful assistant, Kayla, will name somebody in about 10 minutes or so that did that. And there'll be a winner for the free consultation. 10 minutes after, do another one. And just one note, if you are doing a marriage case, a fiance case, or plan on doing one or want more information about it, I have the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide, a free ebook you can download. It's the best in there with the paid, unpaid. You read that, you're going to say this is the best out there. If you want to download it, just go to marriageimmigrationlaw.com, marriageimmigrationlaw.com. It really breaks down the process and the strategies to have an idea of what's going on first before you make the step of even talking with a lawyer. So you go in there with your eyes open, you can see if they know what they're talking about or not. Definitely check it out, marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Let's take the next question. I think it was Elizabeth. Yeah. So Elizabeth asks, I got my work permit and it has on it the term condition none. I don't understand it. Well, I got to see your work permit, but if you have it, you have it. But it on it has a term condition none. I don't know what that is. I have to see what's written on there. But I can't see it. I can't answer it. But if you got your work permit, you got it. Use it. I hope you got your social security number as well. Esme asks, how can we reschedule an immigration appointment to Mexico? My lawyer said to not go and they will call. Well, immigration appointment to Mexico, I think you're saying you had an appointment at the U.S. Embassy in Mexico and you missed your appointment or it was canceled and you want to get a new one. I don't know. I got to see where your case was at, why it was canceled. You could always try contacting them and say, hey, listen, could you schedule a new time? You may have to go on the online page where you register to go and see their calendar. But I don't know. I don't know enough about your case to be able to answer. There's a lot going on there and to see the reason why it was canceled. But you could, if it's appropriate, you could try contacting them by email. They have a scheduling email at the USMC. Again, I don't know what kind of case you have, so I'm assuming it's a immigrant visa green card case you're dealing with the U.S. Embassy in Ciudad Juarez. But with the way you phrase your question, way too many vague things and variables that I can't fully answer it. But maybe talk with a private attorney separately, get an opinion from them. But that's as much I can tell you here. But thank you for your question. Anastasia asked, any good news on Child Status Protection Act? They need to stop this because you're leaving your child behind. Then you got to start over the process when you get to the U.S., which is a waste of time, money. Any good news on CSPA? It's not clear what your question is, so I'm not sure if it's good news or bad news. The Child Status Protection Act in general is a great thing. It really, for the last 20 years, saved a lot of people. And the whole point is to not leave your child behind and they can come with you. Now, if your child aged out, then you lose the benefits of this special thing that they created. So I don't know what to tell you. But I'm sorry if you've been affected negatively. The case took too long. Your child aged out. That's unfortunate. But I don't know what to tell you. It's not about a good news or bad news, but I'm sorry if you had some bad hits on it. 29 Super CR Regular says, thank you so much for answering my question. You're welcome. God bless you. As much as I love having you on the show, I really look forward for your case to finally finalize so you don't even want to watch the show anymore. If you say, I'm done with immigration, I got it, I've got my visa, I'm here, 29 Super C. But as always, I'd love to have you always come on the show. I appreciate it. But I'm waiting for good news and the embassies to start wrapping up so you can get your life started on release. Not everyone knows, obviously, this is a live show. 29 C is a regular, and I just wish him the best in his processing. Costanza asked, do you need vaccines to get a green card? Yes, there's a set of vaccines that you need. You can go check out Form I-693. Just type down to Google and there'll be a list. And it's a list of vaccines. The throat's giving out again. I got to stop yelling and speak a little more calmly, not to burn this throat out. We still got 20 minutes of show. Okay, so there are list vaccines you have to get. They're very strict on this, but not as strict. So one thing that's big in the news about vaccines is that on October 1st, you have to start getting the COVID vaccine to be able to get your green card, whether you're going through the embassy or you're doing adjustment of status in the United States. Now, the requirement is it has to be one of the COVID vaccines that's acceptable for the US. But if you can't get one of those, there are exceptions where they won't require it if the country, for example, doesn't have access to it. But there's other vaccines as well. Tdap, MMR, all this kind of stuff. And sometimes it depends on the doctor. So before you get your green card interview, you have to do a medical checkup. And the doctor reviews your background, sometimes says maybe it's not appropriate or something like that. But it's up to them. But there is a list of vaccines that you do need to get, and most people get them. But download Form I-693 off USCIS website. And on page, I don't know, like 13 or 14, there'll be a list, a grid of vaccines. So you'll see what you need to do there. Single asked, I don't have joint sponsorship. Can I show them cash at the bank counter? Well, this is a complicated question to answer here, but I'll try to shorten it. So when you're doing a family-based case, your sponsor needs to show that they make enough money. Sometimes they don't, so it's best to have a joint sponsor, someone else that makes enough money to do it. But if you can't get that, sometimes you can show your assets, in particular money you have in the account, to show that you have enough money to support the person you're sponsoring. But this requirement, first of all, it takes a lot of paperwork to show it. So this is called using assets. Now you can use property, for example, but you may need a lot of paperwork to show your property is how much it's worth and all this kind of stuff and appraisal. So it's kind of hard and it's not always recommended. You could use banking money in your account, but you have to show that this money on what amount of money was on average in your bank account over the last 12 months. So you have 12 months of bank statements, you average out what it will be every month, and that amount has to be more than 5 times or maybe 3 times if you're doing a U.S. citizen spouse case, the poverty guidelines set on Form I-864P. So as you already see, we're going to multiply things off this form and this and that. I have breakdowns. I have tons of videos on this, both on the JQK Law YouTube channel and on JQK Clips YouTube channel. So you can check it out there where I explain it all. But I don't like using assets, in particular if your case is going through the embassy system. Because what I found is U.S. embassies don't want to deal with it. And a lot of times you may have $1 million and they just don't care. They'll say, no, we want someone who's making money, has a job in the United States, that's going to sponsor you. Regulations say it's fine. The statute says it's fine. But they can say all they want. Just what we were talking about earlier about bills and what the law is and all that stuff with these with the Congress passing rules about immigration. It doesn't really matter if the person who's reviewing it doesn't care. And so what I found is they're really strict at the embassies about assets and they're not down with it. And so I prefer not to use that unless you really have to. USCIS is open to it, but a lot of officers are not familiar with it. So we regularly get RFEs, requests for evidence, when someone uses assets. And so that delays the case. There's a chance that we respond, and we respond correctly, but the officer doesn't understand it and denies the case. So unless you really have to, I avoid using assets at all costs, but I have had that success. Every year I do 1 case with assets. I mean, I'm not the biggest volume firm. I'm doing 1 million cases, but it does happen. It's doable, but I try to avoid as much as possible. But if you need to get your money right, have it consistently in the account above the required amounts, be able to explain it with documentation properly to the immigration system, whether you're working with USCIS or the consular Department, NBC, embassies, all that, and then give it a shot and hope for the best. Imad asks, it's absolutely very nice of you to keep sharing such information videos. Really appreciate your help. Thank you, Imad, one of our regulars. God bless you, and thanks for coming on the show. Is that it? We got more. Video ask, ASAP member work permit 2021. So I can't remember if you got another question, but what I mean by ASAP member, for those who don't know, is in the Trump administration, they changed the rules to make it hard to get the work permit within quickly enough if you have an asylum case pending. But they made an exception if you're part of certain groups, and ASAP was one of these organizations. If you're a member of, you could be part of the class action lawsuit and get your work permit faster. But thanks for your comment. Costanzo asks, do you do fiance visas? Do my fiance needs a COVID vaccine for the process? Yeah, I do fiance visas, marriage and fiance visas. Download the Ultimate Marriage ebook or Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. We talk about the fiance visa in there. And after October 1st, yeah, the COVID vaccine is going to be a requirement for anyone who's going to apply. So your fiance will need the COVID vaccine unless there's an exception for it, but most likely they're going to have it. Mandy asks, with the recent news with the proposed bill, can a babysitter be considered an essential worker? There's just too much speculation there. This is not a question I can answer. I'm sorry, Mandy. Farah asks, I'm Venezuelan. There's no U.S. embassy here. What's the best embassy to apply for a visa for me that's not Colombia? My boyfriend is American and wants to help. Well, Farah, there's no best embassies. You just got to contact them to see where you can do your interview. The likelihood of your visa being denied is pretty strong for being from Venezuela, being that you have an American boyfriend. You can always give it a shot. But if you're in a serious relationship with a boyfriend, you should maybe look into doing a fiance visa or a marriage case if you want to take the relationship down route. I don't have any recommendation on embassies because every day is different. One embassy might be great today, and tomorrow there's high COVID count, they get closed, or some controversial things happen, they got to shut down. So, or the ambassador, the person running the embassy changes, and they change the rules, the management rules. So it's not really possible to say which is best or it's not. You just got to really plan things out, especially if you plan on getting married or doing a marriage case. You can plan that out. The situation is bad. Passports have issues, all this kind of stuff expiring. U.S. has given automatic 5-year extension for Venezuelans, but it's a difficult thing. But talk with them in private and see if you could plan out some other kind of stuff. Let's see. Rosha asks, hi, my mother applied for asylum back in 2016 for her, my sister, and I. We only have a work permit and Social Security, but we haven't received anything yet. What should we do? Well, unfortunately, these asylum cases are heavily backlogged. So waiting 5 or 6 years right now is not too unheard of for asylum cases. A lot of them are taking this much time. In the meantime, you're here. You have work permit, Social Security number. You can live your lives. You can request expedites for some urgent reason. You can request maybe to be on the short list at your local field office. You try filing a lawsuit for the delays. There's a lot of stuff you could do. I don't handle asylum cases myself, so that's how I'm going to limit how much I talk about asylum. But unfortunately, there's just a lot of waiting, and that's the norm right now. Musi asks, hi, my lawyer made mistakes while filing my kid's case, and their case has been delayed for over a year now. What should I do? Well, I don't know what the specific mistakes are, Musi. So maybe they're mistakes that didn't make a difference, and it's not they're just delayed because USCIS is delayed. But I got to see what's going on with the case, what the mistakes were, had they been tried to be corrected, how bad the mistakes were. But you should try to fix them, notify USCIS of errors. But I don't know how bad they were and if they're the cause of the delay or not. But I'm just sorry to hear that you didn't have the best experience. Leah asked, we filed my spouse's visa last June 2021. Got approved last August 2021. So wait, your visa got approved in June, July, 2 months, or are you saying 2020? Our second anniversary will be October 2021. We're still at the MVC part of the process. Will I get an IR1 or CR1? If your spouse enters the United States after the second anniversary of your marriage, then you'll get a regular IR1, a 10-year green card. So now that's taking this long, you might as well wait till October, even if they have the interview, so you get the full 10-year green card. Sometimes by mistake, they may give you a CR1, a 2-year green card, but you got to notify USCIS to correct that. But yeah, if the 2-year mark passes for your wedding at the time of entry into the United States, time of admission, then you're set. You got the 10 years. So it's good news. Kathbal asks, sir, can I change my B1, B2 visa in study visa? I came 3 years ago. Well, you could change your B1 or B2 visa to a student visa F1. but you came 3 years ago. Now, B1, B2 visas are typically only for 6 months. You may get another extension for 6 months. You may get another extension for 6 months. That's a year and a half. But if you came 3 years ago on a B1, B2, a tourist visa essentially, and you're still here, you're probably out of status and you violated your status a long time ago. I'm assuming, I could be wrong. So at this point, being out of status, it's getting a student visa is out of the question. So and even if you leave the United States, you might be subject to a 10-year ban. So you should really consult with an attorney in private and talk about that with them to see what's going on. We went a little long. I do want to mention Elizabeth Darby. You had asked the question. You are a raffle winner. Hopefully you're still watching, Elizabeth. But sorry, my assistant, Kayla, wonderful assistant, mentioned that. I didn't catch it. But if you are interested, if you're still watching, please take a screenshot of where you're watching so I know it's your account. Email it to me, the screenshot at info@jqqlaw.com, and I'll reply with the link so you can schedule a private video consultation. For those just tuning in, every 10 minutes or so, we give out free video consultations, 15 minutes, for watchers who like, subscribe, and write consultation in the description. We've already given out 2. We got 1 more left coming up in 8 or 9 minutes. So stay posted, and let's get back to questions. Rita asks, sir, please, I applied for my son in 2014 on green card, all paperwork approved and accepted. Also all, and we didn't get the rest of the question until way back when. Rita follows up, necessary fees are paid. So recently reconciliation bill, you know, I don't know. I don't, there's no bills. I got to keep talking about this. There's no bills that are actually becoming law yet. It's not clear what's going to happen. So I can't comment on any of that stuff, unfortunately. But you should have an attorney you're working with privately to help you with the process. But I don't have answers about anything related to immigration reform or bills and stuff. This is just all talk, and I can't talk about law that's talk. I got to talk about what's actually the law. So I can't help you on that. Harry asked, one of my regulars, my cousin got his green card through his daughter. Now he is in the USA from, and where's the rest of your question, Harry? I haven't seen you in a while, but good to hear from you. I guess until the rest of your question comes, we'll get the next one. Dan P asks, how long does it take to the MDC to review submitted documents? Between 3 weeks to 2 months on average. Could be longer, could be shorter, but all are possible, which is actually a good point. I got to make a note to check on one of my cases to see if MDC, how long MDC has been pending, because I feel like it's been more than 2 months. Make a note for myself. Okay, so next question. Haji asks, I came here with a K1 visa, applied for adjustment of status, but haven't done my medical, and I got only 1 shot of vaccines in my country that I've sent with paperwork I-485. My interview is scheduled. Should I get another vaccine 3 years status, not ask for anything? So if you already did your vaccines, no, you don't need to do them. I don't know how the new rule is going to come out for cases, but you probably, for the new COVID thing, but I probably don't need it. If you didn't do your medical at the time of getting the K1, which I recommend people, if you're doing a K1 fiance visa, when you go to get your vaccines, do your medical, get it all done before you come to the United States. If you have, you could use that for up to a year after entry for the adjustment of status process taken care of. But if you haven't done the medical or you're missing vaccines, probably not if you've gone through the K1 visa process. If you haven't done the medical, yeah, you gotta go schedule it. I don't know exactly what's going on. If you probably did everything you need to do, but without seeing your paperwork, I can't comment. But you should definitely have your medical done and ready to go before your interview is scheduled, so you have that ready to give to them. Taji asks, I got my green card through my daughter. I'm in the USA for last month. Can I apply my immediately? Your question doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. Also, my mother is also back in the country. Does it impact my wife's case of absence but come back 6 months? Your questions, Taji, unfortunately, are just too broken up and not broke down. If you're a green card holder, you should not be outside the U.S. more than 6 months generally. That could delay things, cause issues. But definitely schedule a consultation with private attorney. There's a lot going on here, but the questions are too disjointed for me to be able to answer them. Peter asks, Patan asks, I'm in Jamaica currently waiting for my interview. Do I have to get vaccinated before coming to the States? Yeah, part of the medical checkup. I mean, when you say my interview, I'm assuming you're talking about your immigrant visa interview. And yeah, when you go to the doctor, when they schedule your interview, a week before that, you have to go do a medical checkup. And there, you have to get your vaccines, and it'll be done part of the process for the medical checkup. But yeah, that's going to be required. Mitsta asks, if I work on a spouse business without documentation of pay, would my employment be status? What would my employment status be at 400? Whatever the honest truth is. So if you're working, you list you're working for that company. I don't know. I have to. This is too case specific. I can't tell you what to put on the form because I'm not your attorney. So that's too specific. Just be honest and explain whatever it is that you do. Harvey follows up. My cousin got his green card through his daughter. Now is in the U.S. for the last 20 days. Can he apply for his spouse immediately? Yes. Does he need to go back to take care of his mom? It may not come back for 6-7 months. Does that impact his case? It can, because there's domicile requirements. It's going to throw back his citizenship. He may go back for 6-7 months, and then all of a sudden he needs to stay out a year, and then other issues come back. So maybe it's good to apply for entry permit. He really should talk with an attorney in private to plan things out. Probably everything's gonna be okay, but better to plan it out. But because issues can't pop up, probably okay. We only got a couple more questions before this throat gives out. So Diva asks, my cousin is interview finished. They said approval, but they no send approval notice by mail. So how? You guys got to work on these questions. The grammar aspect. Sorry, I know English might not be your first language, but I don't know enough about the case to say. There's no exact answers, unfortunately. Najee asks, my parents' case is the embassy. My parents are in Afghanistan right now. What will be the next step? They'll have to transfer the case, hopefully, to another embassy. Your parents have to go somewhere else if possible, do the interview there. Maybe get humanitarian parole to come. I don't know. I'm not too up to date on the situations going on with this Afghanistan. I get a lot of people contacting me. Unfortunately, my firm, I don't have the bandwidth to take on or get into a lot of the Afghanistan stuff. So I don't know any details. I recommend consulting with another attorney about what to do in these cases, because U.S. Embassy in Afghanistan is not happening. All right. One is asked, my case is pending for 4 years asylum. No interview is normal. Yes. And we have another person right now on the show who had 6 years of waiting. These things take time, unfortunately. There's a lot of demand for asylum. Farah asks, if I'm a content creator for subscription-based platforms, is there any visa which I can apply for? Can I apply as a digital nomad? The U.S. has not set up a digital nomad program. However, there are programs called the E2 visa, depending on which country you're a citizen of. You said you're from Venezuela. Venezuela, I don't think, has the E2 program. Let me double check. E2 visa countries. But you could maybe do that. There's a visa called an O1 visa for people with extraordinary ability. If you're really talented and you got things going, potentially you could do that. There's a lot of top YouTubers who are on the U.S. on O1 visas, so that may be something to do. Unfortunately, Venezuela itself does not have E2 visa status, so that could be problematic. But a lot of Venezuelans may have a second passport, so you use that, or you could look into the O1 visa. These are cases myself I don't handle anymore, so I wouldn't recommend contacting me about it. But if you talk to a lawyer, talk about an O1, maybe an E2 if you have another passport. But you know, it's not easy, and it's costly and very difficult to get. But if you really want to, you can look into those options. Really quick, before I take probably 1 or 2 more questions, I want to announce our raffle winner. Our last one for today, CathPal12. If you're still watching, take a screenshot where you're watching this so I can see that your username is there. I know it's you. Email it to me at info@jqklaw.com, and I'll reply with a email to schedule a consultation. So let's do one last question, and we'll call it a day. We've answered this one from Juanes. Anything else? Haji follows up. I did I-130 for my brother and his family. Now I'm doing I-131 with fee waiver and no affidavit support. What are the chances of being approved without the affidavit? This is really Afghan nationality. If you're doing a family case, you have to do an affidavit support. So you're just not going to get approved. If you're doing so that's that. You're going to need an affidavit support for a family-based case. Now, I don't know exactly what's going on in your case. I have to see it for myself. There may be some misunderstanding here. So again, this is not legal guidance, but I just don't know enough to answer that. But family cases all need affidavit support. I'll take one more question. Tanya asks, good night. I heard on the U.S. consular conversation today that Kingston Embassy started accepting cases from NBC. Hope my interview date will come soon. Wonderful, Kingston. Yeah, I mean, that's at Jamaica, I believe, Kingston. We had another person in Jamaica here as well. Hopefully it does. I regularly have Jamaicans come on the show asking about processing times. And, you know, the embassy there is processing some cases. I had a colleague who had a sprinter, a sports athlete from Jamaica, got their visa interview pretty quickly after complaining a little bit to the embassy and stuff. So that stuff's happening, but these marriage cases, fiance cases are stalled. I pray it is, because a lot of couples, man, they want to get together. Jamaica's so close, but so far because of these embassy closures and not processing. Hopefully, yeah, you'll be able to get the process soon to get your life started. It sucks to be stuck on immigration to get to the next level of your life started. Let me do a quick check. All right, the rest of our questions are just people saying thank you. Super C, good night. Farah, thank you so much for coming. God bless you. And the rest, I appreciate everyone coming on, and we'll be back next week, 6 p.m. Pacific time, to take your questions live. God bless you all. Thank you for coming. I pray that the COVID goes away, the embassies open up, and we can hurry up and get everyone their lives together, their spouses together, work plans started, because it's so disruptive. People's lives being on hold for this long. There's just so many consequences, and whole generations of lives are getting just destroyed over this. So God bless you all. Wish you all the best. We'll have some good news hopefully next week. Bye-bye.